You know what it is, Tuesday, January 10th. Give us this day our daily bread. Welcome to Daily Bets. I'm Dane Martinez, the Spittin Statistician, and with me, as usual, on a Tuesday is my guy, Randle. Mike Randle. What's going on, man? Last time we talked college basketball, we went 5 for 5. No pressure, however. How you doing this fine Tuesday?
Doing great, my friend. Scalding hot. Yes, we have college football ended last night. So much great content here on the site, FTN.
Yeah.
But now college basketball is starting to increase exponentially now, getting more to the forefront. Soon we'll have those big Monday slates, which I love. Let's see if we can keep it going today.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you, I've been looking at the records of most teams. Most teams are around 15 games in with 15 left to go. Like, where are you in the kind of ebb and flow and roller coaster of the kind of regular season here? We're in conference play. Like, what do you think? That I know the nation's attention kind of starts to focus on college basketball right now, especially after the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks. But is that the way like coaches are talking to their teams? Is that what we're feeling in locker rooms? Like, are we on bubble watch yet, Mike?
Yeah, we are. There's a bunch of big-time teams that have injuries and have losing streaks. We're going to talk about one of them here today. So if you're in a Power 6 conference, you got to stop the streak here. You got to stop the schneid because you have like a Villanova, you have Creighton who have had injuries. We'll talk today about Ole Miss, teams that really want to make the NCAA tournament. You're in a Power 6 conference. You must make the NCAA tournament. That's your goal. And what we've seen on the flip side is some of those small schools now that want to continue the momentum because they want to put themselves in position for an at-large berth. Charleston, ranked in the top 25 this week. Fantastic job by Pat Kelsey. They want to make sure that their resume is strong enough that if they don't win their conference tournament, they can get one of those at-larges and be one of those Dane 12 seeds that always seem to get a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you think about like I'm starting to see for the first time last 4 in, first 4 out, that kind of terminology, which makes me think we've gotten into the meat of the college basketball season. So let's get into one of those games. Before I do, I got to let people know if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to come on back to Daily Bets. Your balance will thank you day by day as we inch it up the hill. One of those conferences, Mike, and we'll start there, is in the Big Ten, where like I see Illinois right now. Okay. And I see Illinois in 12th place in the Big Ten. You know what I mean? And I think this is a conference that usually gets 8, 9, potentially 10 teams in the dance. They've got a road matchup against the Cornhuskers today. Are Illinois one of those teams that need to like start to stacking up wins in order to be one of those kind of mid-level teams that are not on the bubble anymore?
Yeah, only 10-5, but they've alternated wins and losses now for the last 4 games. They've won and then have lost the subsequent game. Illinois is in a little bit of a free fall, Dane. There was some back talk against head coach Brad Underwood. Brad Underwood's an old school guy. He's very successful, but you had players who came in. You know, the transfer market was big, and we hear about all the successes of the transfer market, but Matthew Mayer came over from Baylor and said a couple weeks ago, you know, Coach and I are not on the same page. For a player to reveal that, especially a veteran player who just transferred, is pretty alarming. Now, Illinois got back on the right track with a win over Wisconsin in the last game, but that was without Wisconsin's leading scorer, Tyler Wall. They won that game by 10. The spread was 7. They ended up covering it, but it still wasn't that comfortable. I am not thinking that Illinois has righted the ship enough that they can go on the road, and we've talked about this. You're going to be a favorite on a road in a Power 6 conference. You have to prove to me why you're going to cover that number. I'm going to start with the home team getting points. I did so here, and I'm taking Nebraska plus 3.5. I just don't trust Illinois. They lost their star freshman point guard, Sky Clark. He has left the team for personal reasons, so they are limited. Nebraska has been very tough at home. They took Purdue, who's one of the best teams in college basketball, with player of the year right now. If the season stops, Zach Edey inside. They took them to overtime before losing by 3. They covered in that game. Their home game against Iowa, they blew them out by 16 points. We saw how good Iowa was. They went down and beat Rutgers in the rack on Sunday. So Nebraska plays well at home. Fred Hoiberg has his team playing well. They also played the first 5 or 6 games without leading scorer Derek Walker. Big man inside, can do a lot. I like Nebraska getting the points here. Also like them as a money line play because I think they're going to win the game outright. I just not at the point, Dane, where Illinois, with all their ups and downs, with all their inconsistency, losing their freshman point guard, I'm not ready to lay 3.5 points on the road with them or not.
Yeah, listen, I told you a few weeks ago, it is going to be hard for me to take these teams going on the road in conference play. You have to give me reasons. They have to be reasons why they are kind of above the fold and can handle that. We talked about, I think, Kansas a couple of weeks back, it being a team that you do believe can actually handle going on the road in the gauntlet that is the conference and getting wins and covering. You don't necessarily think Illinois can cover the 3.5-point spread at Nebraska. Now, let's go to another conference that I think is tough, and that is the Big 12. We got some teams there. And listen, Oklahoma State, the last four in I saw, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State were right there on the bubble. They are a team that you're looking at today. They go to Manhattan, Kansas. And once again, deep in conference play, you're back in the home team.
Yeah, Kansas State 14-1, ninth longest active winning streak at 8 games. Only game Kansas State, Dane, has lost this year is Butler. They have Jerome Tang as their head coach. He took over after being a longtime assistant with Baylor. And what he did is he went back there against Baylor, and they actually pulled the upset in overtime over Scott Drew. Tremendous win. The only argument I see here is a letdown spot coming back home, but they don't call it the Octagon of Doom for nothing. So I am taking Kansas State and laying the points here. Kansas State wants to win this conference. That is shocking to even hear that, but they are led by one of the best stories in college basketball, Keontae Johnson, who had the medical issue when he was in Florida in the middle of the game a couple of years ago, has transferred, has come back. He has been lights out. He's playing at a first-team All-American level. This Kansas State team defends. They also turn you over. Oklahoma State, we are unsure of the status of their center, Musa Cisse, who was the reigning Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year inside. Cisse did not play against Texas at home. That was a bad loss. Texas is sort of up and down right now. Lost that game by 10. They really struggled. On the road, they need full health. If Cisse doesn't play, I think this is an automatic one. Even if he does, maybe it goes down to about 4, and I would take it there too. I don't see the letdown spot here with Kansas State. They are that good. They are home. If this was on the road and then Musa Cisse was playing, different story. But at home here, I think Kansas State wins. Oklahoma State locks you down defensively, but they struggle to score, and I think that's what's going to happen tonight in Manhattan.
All right, like what's the latest word there? Is that something where we should be watching and seeing how the line moves at around 5 or 6 o'clock Eastern time? I remember last week we talked about it. I think it was the Pitt Virginia game where you said there was a player that was very important, whether he would actually go or not. Turns out he didn't, and the line moved. So is this play on the Wildcats here, regardless of any kind of late minute availability news that we hear? How would you expect to hear about this and where the line would move, and does it even matter?
Yeah, I would check on social media because you can get a better line. If Musa Cisse is ruled out, this line is going to go up. So as soon as you see that, I would make sure to get it. And that Virginia-Pittsburgh game, very interesting. We talked about the line went up because Hewley, the big man inside, was not there. But then all of a sudden, Virginia's backup big man is walking around in a boot on the court. So always, always, always watch right before the game. There's been last-minute injuries. There's been players who've been out, sicknesses, things like that. So it's always contingent. But in this game, I'm assuming he plays, but is limited. I really am. Okay. Oklahoma State, great defensive team, but Kansas State is at a different level right now. I don't see the letdown spot, not at home.
All right, and then also I got to remind people over at FTN Bets, one of the things I love the most is going over to the prop shop, okay? So when you get that kind of availability, when you get these kind of news, and it does potentially move numbers, go on over and see what different shops have, because you may be able to get a middle, you may be able to get some kind of different numbers there. We always go on over to the prop shop. By the way, I was doing the show on Friday with Benny Ricciardi. We saw a crazy dramatic difference in the prop shop, Mike. Oh my goodness. Benny was giving out AJ Dillon anytime touchdown. Okay. Which at one place was plus 120. At another place, are you ready for this? Was minus 215 for him to get into the end zone. So to show you the difference that you can get and the importance of checking and shopping around. That's why we promote this all the time. All right, so you may know I grew up in the Bronx. I'm a Bronx guy. One of the schools there is Fordham University there in the A10. And it seems like even now in the smaller conferences, you still are riding with home teams getting the points. It's almost like it doesn't matter if it's Power 5 or not. The idea of someone coming into your building and winning by the number is not something you're ready to do. Tell me who you like in this matchup.
Well, I'm biased here, Dane, because I'm going down for a friend's birthday. We're grabbing dinner beforehand, Arthur Avenue, of
Where you
course.
go, Arthur
Forget it.
Avenue? Oh,
Yeah,
some
and,
good
and then
Italian food right there,
it's
my
gonna be
friend.
amazing. No, it's
Are
gonna be
you
lights out.
kidding me?
And
Yes.
then we're heading over to Fordham here to Rose Hill to watch this game. I like Fordham getting the points against Dayton here. Let's not forget, folks, Fordham 12-1 this year before they had a little bit of a slide. Davidson at home, they lost by 14. Then Rhode Island, tough game away by 3. Darius Quisenberry, their star guard, was limited there, and he wasn't at full strength. Looked better against St. Joe's with a nice win. They had a big second half there against St. Joe's. Dayton has been fantastic. Don't get me wrong. And Dayton was a preseason top 25 team. But, Dane, they've been doing all this without 2 players in their backcourt.
Gotcha.
Guard Kobe Elvis and Malachi Smith have both been out. They've played a combined 11 games. I'm going to go with something I call the law of efforts here, where I just don't think that when you have a problem in your roster and you're trying to overcome that, you continue to fight through, you put together a ton of great performances, and then you're going to slip up. It happens all the time. Dayton has been beating teams comfortably. They're in the middle of a 6-game winning streak, and they've won almost every game by 20 points or more. This is a sleepy spot for them against Fordham. They have VCU coming to Dayton on Friday. I like the Fordham Rams here getting 7.5. They have competed well, Fordham. They have played well. They're great at home. Quisenberry looks completely healthy. Let's take that 7.5 and come down to the last minute so I can enjoy myself with a full belly here of Italian food and hopefully have a great game here. I'll take the 7.5 with Fordham.
Oh, you're going to be sweating egg part Parmesan, but you don't want to be sweating out this game. I like what we're talking about. And you know what? I like it so much, Mike. Yes, we are. We're making it our daily bread for today on Daily Bets. We got a new one. You ready for this? This is Mike Randle's, what was it? The Dayton? No, you like Fordham with the points at home at the Rose Hill campus. Let's go. There it is. Daily Bets right there. Getting out that daily bread. We love that. And that is the play for Mike Randle. And listen, I grew up, I don't know if you know this, but my nursery school, was literally on the same block as Fordham University, right there in the Bronx campus, right by the Botanical Gardens and the Bronx Zoo. That's exactly where I grew up. My home train station was Pelham Parkway on the 2-5, right there by Fordham University. So you're going to my old stomping grounds. Tell everybody that the Spittin Statistician says hello. So we have the nice play. And I always say it, Mike, I'd rather, not only give people a fish, but teach them how to fish. We talk about these things like going on the road in conference. We talk about the schedule spots that you just brought up, the potential letdown for teams, where they are in their schedule. The other thing I've asked you about, Mike, is the idea of the public loving and sometimes artificially inflating the numbers when it comes to those teams that are ranked and have numbers inside parentheses next to their name. And I always ask you if we have a fade spot. Now, we don't talk about this, but I identified one game that was on the slate tonight that would actually check all of those boxes. Number 22, Auburn, going on the road in conference, going to Ole Miss, and they are a road favorite, last I saw, by about 2.5 points. So I was going to ask you, is this the fade spot? Is Auburn the team we are fading? And then before we even talked about it, you came and you gave me your picks. And what do you know? You're taking Mississippi with the points at home against the Auburn Tigers. Tell me why, because I can't wait to run to the window on this one because it meets all of our criteria. What do you like?
I've said this multiple times, and I got burned with the UCF game with Kermit Davis. Kermit Davis is a very good coach. Ole Miss really struggling here at a point to which it's almost ridiculous. 4 straight losses, lost 5 of 6, lost twice at home to North Alabama and Tennessee, and lost to Alabama and Mississippi State away. But they did cover against Tennessee. They kept that game close, only lost by 4. Ole Miss cannot afford to go to 0-4 in the SEC. They are going to pack the house tonight. Davis will have his team ready, and he has an Auburn team that just had a massive win over Arkansas, rival Arkansas at home. That does not shoot threes well, 29%. That does not shoot free throws well, 67%. So I expect the public and the money to be on Auburn here. I am going back to Mississippi for one last time. If they don't get this one, then forget it. I am done with them for the rest of the year. But I like Kermit Davis. They defend well Mississippi inside the arc, allowing only 44% from inside the arc. That's top 20 in the country. And that's where the overwhelming majority, 55% of Auburn's points come from because they struggle to shoot from the outside. I think Mississippi can win this game. I think they need to win this game. They can't go to 0-4. This would be a big, big win. Little letdown spot for Auburn. Couple points here. No problem with the underdog. Maybe a money line play. Ole Miss, Kermit Davis, the 1-3-1. Mix it up a little bit tonight and get that W for us against Auburn.
So let me ask you one thing to follow up right there, Mike, because you talked about kind of the public and the money will be on Auburn in this one. I'm seeing a line of 2.5 right now. Should I wait a few hours? You know what I mean? If you think that that's where it's going to go, will it get to 3? Will it get to 3.5? I'm looking for every point I could possibly get. I think you said you think the public will be on Auburn. You think the money will be on Auburn. As we're recording right here now in the early afternoon on the Eastern time zone, I see it at 2.5. Should I get that and hammer it now because I believe in what Randle Rant has to tell me? Or do I kind of get cute with it a little bit, wait until a little closer to tip, and hope that I get even a better number or better juice for my number?
I really like Ole Miss in this game so much, Dane. I think it's a definite opportunity for maybe reverse line movement. I wouldn't be surprised if everything, the bets keep coming in on Auburn, you see this line drop a little bit to 1.5 or even 2. I like the 2.5. I think it's fine. I don't think it's going the other way, unless there's some player, of course, like I said, who ends up being injured. But that's a good enough number for me. If you like the money line play, I would take it right now because I really like Miss. I don't trust Auburn on the road. They have been very up and down here. Not sure what you're going to get from them. They lost at Georgia by 12. Georgia is not a good team. So honestly, I'm happy with the 2.5. I would not wait on this one because I'm not sure they're going to move this line. This could be like one of those games where the bets and money pouring in Auburn. You see the line stay the same spot, which always to me makes me feel good. Little sprinkle on the Sunday. Right. I would not wait on this one. I would grab it now because I think it's a reverse line movement situation, possibly as we get closer to tip off.
All right, so Mike thinks he's on the right side. We're now waiting. We love that reverse line movement. We're back in Ole Miss at home. Remember, at home in conference against the team that kind of could be in a letdown spot with their home crowd, hoping that they don't stay winless in conference play. So to recap, we like Fordham at home in Rose Hill against Dayton. We like Kansas State at home. This is the only favorite, I think, on your card, Mike, covering the 5-point number against the Cowboys, who I see as right now still on the bubble as we're in mid-January. We like the Nebraska Cornhuskers at home getting points in conference. If you haven't noticed yet, this is a pattern: at home getting points in conference. And we're doing the same thing with Ole Miss as they welcome Auburn into town here tonight. 2.5 is there. I like this time of year, Mike. I like this time of year because this is when the public starts getting in and we can find these inefficiencies. Like you said, the reverse line movement opportunities. All the public's going to be on Auburn, but if it doesn't move, that is an indication that the bigger money, that the sharps of the world are on your side. So the last thing I want to ask you here, Mike, is tell the people here that may be watching daily bets for the first time, that may be dipping their toe into the water for the first time. Who knows? Maybe they live in a state where it just became legal to dip your toe in the water. What does reverse line movement mean? Okay, I can simplify it as if all the bets are on one side, but it's not moving, that in essence means that all the bets still only add up to the same amount of money on the other side. So the people that are betting more money, who have more skin in the game and likely know more about what they're doing, are betting the other side. Is that pretty much what we're talking about here?
Yeah, what happens is when you make the lines, when the casinos make the lines, Vegas makes the line, they want to have equal money and equal opportunity or risk on either side. If they're right in the middle, it's ideal for them. They don't want to have one side more than the other. So sometimes you will see the line move depending on the action, the bets that come in. But sometimes even though that action and bets comes in, the line does not move. That tells you that wherever your line is, they're still happy with their position and they're happy with what's going on. So even though with the bets and money coming in, if it comes in on Auburn, you would think they would make that line 3.5 to try to entice more people to bet on Mississippi. But in this situation, I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think they're comfortable with it. Even though the bets are coming in there, they may actually say, you know what, we're taking money on Auburn, but we're going to continue to keep it right there because we're comfortable. So they're managing risk is what they're doing. And there are certain games, like when you have a favorite on the road, that even though people like to bet the favorites, they like to bet the favorites, they like to bet overs, the line doesn't move. If that's the case, sort of indicates to me that we're going to have a close game.
All right, fair enough. There's a 4 plays for you for tonight. Remember, we went 5 for 5 last time talking college basketball. Let's continue to stay hot. That is your daily bread for Tuesday, January 10th. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking NBA props. I bring in some friends outside of FTN. My good friend from Sports Grid, Patrick Foster, will join the show. My good friend from SNY, Dexter Henry, will join the show. They will be chopping it up about some props in the NBA. We're also going to start to turn our attention to wild card weekend later on in the week. I mean, Mike, by the way, in wild card weekend, we've got literally the 2 worst run defenses in the NFL playing on wild card weekend. We've got the worst pass defense in the NFL playing on wild card weekend, if that's any hint to some of the props we're going. But there's plenty of time this week to talk about that. For now, lock in the plays that my guy Mike Randle gave you. Your balance will thank you. So for my guy Mike Randle, I am merely the Spittin Statistician, Dane Martinez. Make sure to lock in those bets. Come on back tomorrow. Your balance will thank you. This has been another episode of Daily Bets. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Peace.